What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back, and a very great round of football last week in the divisional round. Probably the best we may ever see. Every game coming down literally to the last play of the game. Now, hopefully, the championship weekend can live up to the hype and give us some more instant classics. But first, we got to talk about last weekend in the picks wise. Ethan, I started off pretty good. First game, got a game winner, and then after
Yeah,
that, I just decided to pick the losing teams. But
and I'm the same way. We both went 1-3, which is kind of crazy for. I mean, I guess it's normal for us playoff wise. Every game was really close, so no picks are bad. But let's go ahead and recap this Titans and Bengals game.
all right, so for this game, we got the Bengals obviously coming out on top 19-16. And you can see here, first downs, Bengals got one more, but I think the big thing that stands out here is third down efficiency. 7 for 15, that's not good. That's not even, spectacular, but you compare that to the 1 for 8 here for the Titans, that's how you win and lose games. And it also doesn't help that your quarterback throws 3 picks in this
Yeah,
game. The Bengals, I think they kind of got gifted this win in a sense, especially, in that last field goal to, win the game. You can't not say AJ Brown had a spectacular game right over here, 5
yeah.
receptions, 142 yards and a touch. It was him and Henry that really just carried the team, even though, Foreman had a big run. But I don't know. How did you feel about this game?
I think the telling story, which is gonna really might bite the Bengals, come back and bite them, is the sacks. How many sacks their offensive line given up? Titans do have a great defensive line, but you can't be getting sacked 9 times a game, especially Joe Burrow. He's a dog, but he's got to get protected better, and it's gonna be interesting. I also think they got. You're right about the third down efficiency. They were really good throughout the game, and then it felt like once they got in that field goal range, they just couldn't score a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
So they gotta look to capitalize on those in order to be the Chiefs next week.
Okay, and then for the 49ers and Packers game, this game was pretty much a defensive game in the snow, terrible weather. Obviously, Jimmy G really didn't have any effect on this game, just the normal weather, he kind of screws his team. And I think the bad weather actually helps the 49ers because Jimmy G didn't have to throw as much. Elijah Mitchell, Deebo Samuel, really took over on the ground. I think, the thing that stands out is I said it all year, every single time. The Packers special teams is terrible and it's going to get overlooked because, they're winning. So everyone's happy. But once again, first playoff game, field goal gets blocked, after a miraculous play right before half that really could have, set the tone for the second half. That gets blocked, and a punt gets blocked for a touchdown. That's 10 points in itself, 10-point swing that the Packers could have had. So I think the Packers, you can obviously blame to the special teams, but I think Aaron Rodgers is to blame as well, just kind of forcing balls to Devontae rather than taking his check downs and wide open receivers. I think he was trying to do too much there. I mean, I'm not, obviously an insider or anything, but just a casual fan watching the game, you're kind of questioning what he was doing there. But I don't know. I think the big thing was this turnovers, 1-1, but when did it happen is the big question. And when the Packers lost it in the fourth and early third, fourth quarter, that's when Rodgers started just forcing balls. And I think that's what really turned the tide in this game.
Yeah, I think that block kick was really the big one that really turned it, because obviously 10-3, Packers defense was looking great all game. All they got to do is get that ball off and then play some defense, and I think it's a different story. But unfortunately, gave up a touchdown, and then all the momentum at the end of the game, once the Packers got stopped on that, it was like 3rd and 8, and Aaron Rodgers tried to force it to Devontae in the sideline and missed him. And after that, it just kind of looked like Jimmy G was going to just move that ball down the field using all of his weapons, Kittle, Deebo. And that's what they did, and ended up kicking a field goal. So I think a big thing for the Niners is just how Jimmy Garoppolo he needs to stay in the pocket and go with the game plan, because when he gets out of the pocket and starts going off script, that's when he ends up throwing bad interceptions and all that. So big week next week for the Niners against the Rams. That's an impressive win against the number 1 seed.
All right, and then for this Rams Bucks game, we had the Rams, pulling off the upset, going into Tampa, beating Tom Brady. But I think this one was more Tom Brady beating himself. Unfortunately, the score looks like it was a close game, but it wasn't a close game until late in the third quarter, when the Bucks, finally scored a touchdown. Really, that turned the tide for the whole game because it was 27-3 at one point, and it could be even more. Before the half, the Bucks forced a fumble right at the goal line and recovered.
Yeah.
So I think that was the turning point in this game for the Bucks. Brady did a Brady, but the problem was they were down 27-3, not 28-3. So he's only good at coming back at 28-3s. But I mean, you got to give the Bucks credit here for fighting and never giving up, because I think almost 95% of NFL fans around the world were probably thinking of doing something else or turning it off, not really paying attention because you thought this one was over, and myself included. Once they finally scored the first touchdown, I was like, okay, they got a shot. And then it just seemed like every so often, like literally 2 or 3 plays, the Rams did something bad and the Bucks got the ball back and they just kept capitalizing and capitalizing. But I think the thing that's going unnoticed in this game is the Ryan Suckup missed field goal early in the second quarter, because he makes that kick. Essentially, it's a tie game going to overtime. And you never know, especially with the overtime rules this year. I think if Bucks get the ball, they go right down the field, score a touchdown, walk off. But same could be said about the Rams. And I don't know, it was just kind of like the Bucks didn't show up for the first half. They didn't want to play, and that's what hurt them in the end.
Yeah, and I think what could have really came back and hurt the Rams were the 4 fumbles. Like it just seemed like they got up way ahead and they looked great. Offense was going off, with Odell, Cooper Kupp went crazy. But then Cam Akers fumbles at the beginning of the half or the end of the half, and then a ball Cam Akers had 2 fumbles actually. Cooper Kupp fumbles a ball. He never does. And then even a bad snap, and that's really the telling point of why this game was so close. They just kept giving Brady the opportunities to come down and score. And that's kind of been the story with the Rams all year. They can be dominant for really, really dominant for a stretch of the game and then look like they did in this game. So it's going to be.
And last but not least, the game of the year. People were saying it was the Bucks game, or literally the game before, because it was so good. And then this game followed up with, nope, hold my beer, I'll do better. And I mean, you got to give Josh Allen credit. What is it? He has more incompletions than he does interceptions or touchdowns or something crazy, like some crazy stuff.
Probably.
Yeah, I think it's that one. And that's like insane, this playoffs. And I just don't see how they don't change the overtime rules for next year. Like, obviously you can say, like, oh, they have a defense too, they can stop. But I just think if they want to grow this game, because it's so offense favored nowadays, where it used to be, defense wins championships. Now it's offense wins championships. And I think adjusting the overtime rules to either, no matter what happens first possession, the other team should at least get a shot. I think that's the fairest way to do it. But if you're just talking about this game, I mean, Bills thought they had it won with 13 seconds. Chiefs thought they had it won with a little over a minute. I mean, there was just so much scoring back and forth.
Yeah, and back to the overtime rules, I saw something on ESPN Plus. Someone was saying that they think they should just play out the full overtime, because that would make it as much like a real football game. So if just 15 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever, just play it out, whoever's winning at the end of the time, just how normal football works. I think that'd be a really cool thing. Except for, in the regular season, players could get hurt and stuff, all that crap. But back to the game though. I mean, that game was insane, dude. Like that had to be the best game all year. And I think the better team did come out on top. I mean, the Bills, are going to be battling. They're going to be here probably every year or every other year. And I hope we can just see this game every year because it was awesome.
And back to our picks here. First, we're going to start off with the AFC Championship. And
Go Burr.
I'm going with the man. I'm going with the team that has the it factor right now.
Yeah.
Bengals don't care who they play. They'll go in there and beat you. They already beat the Chiefs once at home. So why not go for the season sweep and go into their place, kick them out of the playoffs, and knock Mahomes out before he can go get another Super Bowl. And, you know, I think this will be the better game of the two because it'll be a higher scoring game. I think personally, maybe just a little bit more high scoring, but I just think that 7-point spread, we've seen the Chiefs last week. Obviously they won by 6, but there's just going to be too much scoring, I think, to not take that spread. But the Chiefs then again could blow them out by 24 just because they could just keep running it up like they did against the Steelers. It's kind of just a crapshoot pick. You already beat me in picks for this year, but I'm going with the hotter team of the two in the Bengals.
And I'm going to be going with the Chiefs just because I really haven't picked the Bengals at all this playoffs. As you know, I picked the Raiders in the wild card, and then I ended up picking the Titans last week. And I'm picking against them again. I don't care. I'm going with the Chiefs. Definitely the better team overall. Bengals they got a hole in that offensive line that they need to fix, and they're talented enough to be here without it, but I don't think they're talented enough to beat the Chiefs without that O-line getting boosted a little bit. So I'm gonna take the Chiefs in a close one at home. It could be more than 3 points. I'm just guessing that Burrow's showing up here. 42-39 Chiefs.
And moving to the NFC Championship, 49ers, Rams, and literally 3 weeks ago, the 49ers won in LA to get into the playoffs and to play them again in their home stadium, do it all over again. And I'm going with a different result. Everything else is the same, different result. Rams 30, 49ers 27, and I think Jimmy G is going to pull a Jimmy G, the double agent. Right at the end of the game, they're going to need him to do something good, and he's going to throw a pick. And I'm calling an Eric Weddle interception to seal the game.
Hey,
I don't know. I just think this Rams team, with all that's happened in the NFC so far, they have to be on upset alert. What we've seen already, 100%. It would be surprising if the 49ers win this game, but I think it's going to catch up to them one time, the 49ers, because we haven't really seen Jimmy G make his usual mistakes like he has been doing in the regular season. And I think this is the game where it's going to come out.
Right. And I don't see the Rams offense going absolutely crazy in the first half. And I expect it to be very close throughout the whole game. I just don't trust Jimmy G as much as Stafford. I know technically right now Jimmy G does have more experience, but Stafford's obviously the most talented quarterback and the better roster overall, I would say, and home field advantage. It's really hard to not take the Rams in this, but there is a way the Niners win, and that's Elijah Mitchell has a game over 100 yards. Jimmy G, no interceptions, or maybe one. And Debo really has to make some plays. Kittle, all the boys got to make some plays and play good defense, and they can win this game. Mm-hmm. So, it's gonna these two. We're both taking. Well, I'm taking Chiefs Rams, and you're taking Bengals Rams. Mm-hmm. So,
and I think this year, almost out of every year, it seems like you can say, oh, this is like the year of the most competitive games, but what we've seen so far this postseason really makes us believe that it really could be any other way. Because it could be Packers Bucks right here because that's just how close those games were and results could have been different. The AFC, is the exact same way. It could be Titans Bills for the AFC Championship. So I think this is why it just makes football the greatest sport to watch because you really don't know what can happen on any given Sunday. But that's going to be it for our picks and preview this week.
Yeah. So if you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. We'll be back for the Super Bowl picks and all the recaps for next week. So until then, Bench Buddies are out. Peace.
She never called back.